evening, my fellow Exorcists, and welcome to the Lair of the Film Exorcist. Tonight, Gold Squadron will be reviewing Star Wars The Bad Batch Episode 8, Reunion. The Batch find themselves cornered on treacherous terrain.
Gold 2 standing by.
Standing by.
I don't think we caught that.
Gold 3 standing by.
Looks like we're all here this week. So, that was an interesting episode, watching Crosshair go after his fellow brothers. We get to see more of the inside of a Venator than we've basically been able to. We've gotten a lesson in engines on the Venator, and we also get a fun little training exercise between Wrecker and Omega. So, what'd you guys think?
I loved it. I loved the episode from the very beginning. Like I said in the group chat before this, just the colors, the cinematography, the visuals, it's all perfect. It's so clean. It's like this is peak Clone Wars content right here.
I agree.
For me, I gotta say, like, this episode, there was so much to love. There's nothing I can honestly say that I hated. And I feel like we're still on a high from last week's episode. And I love the episode title, Reunion, because kind of like last week, we weren't able to actually discuss last week's episode. This feels like a reunion of our own right here, because we're all back together here and discussing this. And I just overall love this episode. I mean, we get to see that big surprise at the very end, which we knew that a character such as this was going to show up. We just never thought that Dave Filoni was going to be the genius that he is, to do it the way that he did. And just, we find out also who's actually hiring bounty hunters. Like, I'm more interested now in the direction where they're going with Omega than the Bad Batch themselves. Because it's like, we know that the chips are down. That's out. So they're free men at this point. So, I mean, there's only but so much more we can do with them. They're going to have their adventures. But Omega, where are we going to go with Omega? That's one of the biggest questions I'm having at this moment. And I just overall loved it.
And oh my god, did I not predict that it was the Kaminoans calling out the bounty hunters? I believe I said that during the episode with Fennec Shan. But, surprise, surprise, we also have another fortune teller in this whole group. And possible Jedi. Let's see. Chris, aka Gold 2, who predicted in the second episode we did, right away he predicted that we were going to meet Rex, and Wrecker was going to go off his rocker right then and there against his brothers. But there was one thing he missed, and that was Wrecker survived. And here, we also predicted that Crosshair was going to come back, and what a return it is. And I just got to point out, he almost, after he gets burned, he almost reminds me of Dengar, but with smaller head wraps.
Yeah, and it was nice to see that Filoni wasn't scared to be gruesome and show him actually getting cooked by the ion engine.
Being by his own game.
I know, it was so crazy. And just the whole, like, them falling down and getting separated thing definitely added to the story, because I feel like right when they got separated, we kind of knew that, alright, something's going to happen with Omega.
Yep.
Yeah, like, definitely. I think you had said this also in the chat, Chris, where you actually said that Omega had been with them for a while. So, I mean, it's Star Wars. There is no happy endings or, happily ever afters. Something's going to have to happen, and there's going to be chaos, whether it be death or some kind of issue. So, this just proves that, like, we are in dark times, that being ruthless and being a soldier isn't necessarily a good, like, it doesn't matter anymore. Like, I think that's one of the things that Hunter's also struggling with. Like, he still feels like he's a soldier, where we have, like, Rex and even Echo, like, hey, you know, we gotta adapt. And Saw Gerrera said that to him as well in the first episode, where, like, you got to adapt to survive. And Hunter's having that issue, and it's still not being brought up, because he's not having to, you know, deal with that necessarily. But I feel like now with Omega being taken away, he's going to have to really put his priorities in place and see what's really best for all of them and go from there.
Honestly, I think they're gonna go after Omega. That's Hunter's first priority. Wrecker is probably gonna join him. They have to find out who captured Omega, and they have to figure out that it's the Kaminoans that are doing it. I mean, we already know all this information. We've already given the clues. We've already been shown all the answers. It's now time for the Bad Batch to go on the hunt. And that is probably going to be a big part of this second half of the season. And I believe the finale might be a big battle between the Bad Batch and Crosshair and his new batch of stormtroopers. But on top of that, I also just gotta mention that I love the little callback to Republic Commandos at the end of the episode, looking through Hunter's helmet as they carry him onto the shuttle, and as they're fighting off the clone troopers. It's just, this is as, I hope not, but I feel like this is as close as we're gonna get to Rebellion Commandos or Imperial Commandos, the sequel to Republic Commandos that we never got because it got canceled. So, this was amazing, and it brings back memories from all the massive fucking levels that I really hated going through in Republic Commandos. I mean, those cannon Geonosians with the big sniper laser ray guns, those were OP, to be honest. And that ghost ship kind of mission was really hard unless you had cheat codes, to be honest. So, yeah, this is a big thing for us Star Wars gamers.
Since we're talking about the end of the episode, I think it's kind of cool how now clone troopers don't really have names; they're just numbers at this point. Because you hear the clone that was tending to Crosshair, he was addressing the dead one on the intercom as CT-8508, and I'm sure he probably had a name before Order 66, and now they're all just, you know, the numbers that they were given.
True, and they're also calling Crosshair Commander throughout this, which is pretty interesting. I mean, no one's calling him Commander Crosshair, no one's calling him just Crosshair, but on top of that, they also he's the only one that they don't use the call sign for, which is interesting. And also, I forget who I watched, but they pointed at... Actually, hold on, I got the video right here. Let me get into YouTube. But no, I don't think it was him, but what I'm trying to say is oh no, it was Star Wars Explained during their episode review last night. They mentioned that the clones seemed so much like droids during this episode, where the original clones or the clones from the Clone Wars were these specialists that would go through every obstacle on the ship just to find find their target. Here, they just go down the one hallway and completely miss the Bad Batch by a very small margin. I mean, they're basically mindless because of the inhibitor chip. They're basically mindless drones following any orders that they're given, and they've basically lost their personality.
Yep, so much for the fun, sarcastic clones that we were used to.
Right.
I think I touched on that point a couple of weeks ago. I thought maybe if the inhibitor chip stays in their heads, they become less of a person and more, I guess you could say, more like droids. And I mean, we started seeing them like back in, I think, episode 3, where with Cutler Quaid, when they were trying to shoot down the ship or shoot at him, they were missing. They were behaving like normal stormtroopers, and it's like it seems like it's not just their personalities that they're messing with; it's with everything. They're totally different. They really are basically like no different than droids, just with flesh and skin. That they're inaccurate. They have no personalities. They literally just follow orders. They might as well just say Roger, Roger throughout everything, and you would never know. You would never know the difference.
Yeah, like I'm watching the end of the episode now when Echo rescues Hunter, and like even though you don't see the clones directly, you can tell that they're missing every shot as Wrecker fights back.
I also kind of like the little thing where it's Wrecker versus the flamethrower trooper, and
He just throws the ion torpedo.
he throws the proton torpedo at him, and it's just... You kind of expect, because it's the Clone Wars, for it to explode because of the flamethrower. But no. I mean, you also gotta think, there is the one thing that they still have that could pay off Sid and get them the resources they need to find Omega. The stuff that it would be the stuff that Tech downloaded off of the computer.
Yep.
So they've got all that information, despite losing all the ammunition that they were trying to sell.
Information is valuable.
Exactly.
If it was Hondo, you already know what he would say. Today's a profit. Or something revolving around making money.
Actually, there was a theory that maybe we'll see Hondo in this series.
Oh, we have to. If we see, we've seen Rex so far. We've seen Cut. We've seen Cad. Exactly. Fennec. So I mean, we're going to see all these characters. We're probably going to see how Hondo maybe even loses his squad. I mean, that might be another thing.
You know, it would be pretty cool if we got to see. If we got to see Hunter in the Bad Batch. So this is a long shot. Very long shot, so don't quote me on this, but it would be cool to see them work together with Boba.
That would be a very big long shot. I really don't think Boba would want to get involved with anything like this.
But I mean, if you think about it, it would be a good way for him to get back at the Kaminoans and what the Jedi stood for. Even though he just wanted to kill Windu, but I feel like it would also give him a chance to, like, perfect his skills as a killer.
I guess.
You know, just because he's working with Hunter, who's based off of Rambo and Sylvester Stallone, you could see it. So, like, Hunter could probably teach him a thing or two.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I was thinking, like, now that you mentioned Boba, I was thinking maybe if he was going to get involved with anyone, it would probably be maybe Omega. Not romantically, but, like, get involved and be like, what are they doing to you, you know? And, like, I'm like, hey, I'm an unaltered clone from the original donor. What are you, and what's your purpose? You know, like, what makes you special from the rest of them? Like, I think he would be curious, and maybe the only person other than maybe Hunter, to be, like, you know, get involved with.
I think you also mentioned, and you showed a video on Instagram, but...
Oh, yeah, it was,
a shot-for-shot remake of the battle between Boba and Cad Bane.
Yeah, it was, I looked at it again, and it's basically a shot-for-shot remake. All they did was just, remap the characters, and instead of having Boba's, Boba's model, they put hunters and they changed the lighting and all that stuff. But yeah, it's really just a shot-for-shot remake.
I'm personally glad that we see Cad Bane because this gives me hope for the Book of Boba Fett series. I'm truthfully hoping, that we get to see a live-action Cad Bane. And, I mean, one of the best in the game to be up against Boba now that he's older. I mean, if we didn't get the fight in Clone Wars, I mean, who's to say we may get that fight in that show? I mean, they just finished up filming on that one. I think I saw a thing on Facebook where Tamora Morrison was just relaxing, and they were filming for 7 months. So, I mean, it's probably going to be an intense show, maybe a lot more intense than The Mandalorian. I don't know, but, I mean, just imagine Cad Bane going up against Boba in a live action. That would be phenomenal.
That would be awesome.
Do you think that maybe Filoni would have Corey Burton as Cad Bane, like as a live action with like head to toe makeup and the voice and everything like that?
It's a possibility.
The only problem is the height differences because Corey Burton's 5'6" and Bane is 6'1". But I mean, they could probably just like put some IR mapping dots on his legs and make him taller and post. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they can definitely, if they wanted to do it, I'm sure they would.
I'm really interested to see what's going to happen now because we know that this half of the season, now that we're in the second half, is going to be very action packed. I'm excited to see the Bad Batch back on Kamino fighting all the clones. I'm excited to see a possibility of a clone rebellion. I don't know. It sounds like that might be what the Kaminoans are going for because they keep talking about Omega, but I don't know. And I had something else. Oh, there are some more shots in the trailer that we didn't see of them being cornered in like a cave or something like that. So I think we might see that in the next episode.
It's a possibility, but let's get back to the little thing between Wrecker and Omega that I mentioned. I love how she just believes anything Wrecker says. I mean, it's obvious Wrecker wasn't going to blow them up. And it's a bit obvious that it was a smoke grenade, because this is just a training simulation, or, for lack of a better word, yeah, simulation. But, yeah, I found that interesting. Wrecker, because he's a demolitionist, he's trying to teach her more about the explosives, how to disarm, how to rebuild explosives, and Tech, he's trying, I guess, kind of teaching her about electronics and things like that. And Hunter and Echo are trying to teach her how to become a better clone, like learn how to fight.
Be a better marksman.
Exactly.
Stuff like that.
I also was very I found it very interesting that the way Tech explained the Clone Wars to Omega before the Empire showed up. He said it was just a bunch of missions, or a bunch of well planned out.
It was comprised. It was a mission objective comprised of various battles on many fronts, or something like that.
Yeah, and she asks him again. No, what I mean is, what was it like fighting in the Clone Wars? Because she, most of the time, has been on Kamino helping the cloners, or we don't know how long she's been there, but, I mean, it's kind of obvious that she would be interested in what her fellow clones were doing while she was cooped up on Kamino. She wants to learn what it was like to fight for the Republic, what it was like to be like her brothers. She's a very smart kid, and yeah, I mean, I can see where she's coming from asking Tech what it was like.
Yeah, kind of jumping in here with what you're saying. I was actually thinking about that scene with Tech and her. I think one of the things that she was really trying to get at was like, what was his thoughts on it? Tech is very direct. He's very obviously technical. He's very, kind of like all about information, and like he's very cut and dry. So I think what she was trying to get was more of a humanized answer out of him, and he obviously doesn't understand that. He's not a very social person. He's more, like I said, all about information and stuff like that. But that's one of the things I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for more of these little interactions from Omega and Tech, because I think that's the only person that Tech would probably be willing to be open to, because everyone else would just kind of like, they know he's smart, but they don't want to get to like, I guess, humanize him some more. But with Omega, I think that he might get to that point to where he's actually going to say what he feels and what he truly thinks, rather than the information that he has. And I was also kind of comparing that scene to the one in Rebels where we have Rex talking to Ezra, when Ezra asked him, he's like, what was the war like? And Rex gave him an honest answer. It's like, the war never got to Lothal. It's like, the war was never dull. And, kind of like giving him a small recap of what his personal thoughts were. So there's the difference. Obviously, Tech is an enhanced clone, but because of that, he doesn't have, or I guess based on his personality and the way he is, he can't really give that kind of, I guess, response, not as of yet. But with Rex, I mean, obviously, he's going to tell him, and he's been through a lot more, and time has definitely passed since I guess, Order 66, so he would have a lot more to say.
I also noticed Omega is getting better at her bow. I mean, she took out one of the clones.
Oh yeah, she's definitely been practicing.
Oh yeah.
So she's basically becoming one of the Bad Batch, but she does need a lot more practice.
She's definitely learning, which is good. It's good to see, it's good to see a clone that wasn't bred for combat learning how to, be in combat. It's really nice.
Exactly.
Now, do you guys think that with Cad Bane taking Omega, he's obviously gonna go back to Kamino. Do you guys think that with them going to Kamino, because that's probably where they're gonna have to go, do you think that Hunter is gonna get a rematch with Cad Bane?
Probably.
Probably.
He knows how fast Cad Bane actually is.
Sorry, I was gonna say, or we could have a three-way fight where we could have Cad Bane versus Hunter versus Crosshair. Because Crosshair is gunning for Hunter the most. So maybe we could have a three-way
for
fight.
Cad Bane. I'd be interested in seeing that.
Same, but before that, I think we also need to see what's going to happen to Crosshair. I mean, I think he may, and due to his burns, he might get a few enhancements.
Did you mean like more of a Darth Vader kind of thing?
It's a possibility, but I don't think they'd go that far. Just like there are many villains and characters in these games and books and movies that they'll go to great lengths to improve themselves, and I think Crosshair, I don't know. I really don't know what they would be able to do with him at this point.
Yeah, it's either the Bad Batch captures him, stuns him, and gets the chip out, or he dies. It's the only way I see it.
I think he may die.
It's either chip out or blaster bolt in the chest.
Be something in the head.
It would be.
I also have a crazy theory here, and this involves the Kaminoan. I think that they're going to meet their end very soon. I started thinking about this too. It's like, I know that in the original trilogy, there was no mention of them. But I started thinking, I was like, what if there is no mention of them because there is no Kaminoan? Now, I'm not saying they're going to destroy the whole world and all that, like their planet. I'm thinking that Nala Se and the Prime Minister have their days counted. I definitely feel that they're going to die because of what they're trying to do. Like,
Oh,
they're gonna have them.
no doubt about that. I mean, it's obvious.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that Omega, they're gonna do what they want with Omega for a little bit, and we're probably gonna be able to see it. But after that, it goes no further, and they're going to die.
Yeah, it's kaput for them.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think we've talked about all we could. Also a bit of a surprise that none of Crosshair's soldiers were killed, other than the few clones that we see. And to be honest, this was a really good episode, and I can't wait to see more of it. I can't wait to see the interaction between Cad Bane and Omega, because I think we're gonna get a little thing between them in the next episode, as he either has her locked up or just thrown into a pair of binders, and I can't wait to see how the Bad Batch try and get her back. It's all exciting, and I'd give this episode an A+.
I give it an A+ as well.
I gave it an A++. Overall, it still goes on with the hype of last week's episode, so A++ for me. Really enjoyed it.
Yep, and I can't wait until someone makes this into a supercut. It's like 8 hours long. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be awesome.
It will be. Yeah. So, any final thoughts, guys?
I think that's it. I'm good. I've said everything I need to say.
Yeah, I think overall, just great episode. Great being with you guys again. It's always a nice privilege, and being able to talk to you guys and sharing our thoughts together and having others listen to us. And hopefully, your subscribers can actually let us know what they think. What are your thoughts of this episode? We'd love to know what you guys think. And just overall, hopefully it just gets better and better from here on out.
I agree. So, yeah, this has been episode 8 of The Bad Batch. I think that's it. Have a great night, guys, and may the Force be with you always. And Gold Squadron, signing off.
Gold 2 signing off.
Gold 3, signing off.